So yeah, man. So that's now we're officially live, Mr. Chris.
Yeah, good to be live on the interwebs.
On
First
the
time ever.
interwebs.
I'm
On the
excited.
interwebs.
Thanks for having me on, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For anybody that may be watching in right this very second, I'm Ralph Tapia. I'm a guy who likes to do fun things in regards to real estate and mortgages, but also like to do things outside of that. I mean, Chris has been a big supporter of me doing stuff like this since when I was a wee lad in the mortgage industry, a long 4.5 years ago. So for those of you who are just now watching, my name is Ralph Tapia. I'm a loan officer here in Houston. I'm starting a little webcast, if you will. I've been having this idea to do a podcast for well over a year and a half. Now that we're all quarantined, so to speak, I wanted to kind of showcase something, at least while I can, via the web. So today I have one of my, I consider a really good friend of mine, boss, mentor, coach, and like I just mentioned, a friend, because this man right here, this man right here has been a believer in what I've been doing since well before I even started in the mortgage business. So I'm Mr. Chris Sandahl. Mr. Chris Sandahl, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
You just did. What else is there to say? Yeah, but no, it's funny how you go back through history there. We even think about, like you said, 4 years ago. I remember sitting down with you. So yeah, I've been in the mortgage game for nearly 20 years, as originator for 15 years, and then I've been managing for the last 5 years, with a couple years of that being origination plus management tied together. And then 3 years ago, when we came over to network funding, I just made the decision to hang up the origination cleats, go purely into support mode, help my team grow as much as they can. And that, for me, was the best move ever, because I'm always about team. Rarely is it me versus we. So to pull Ralph into that and just, hopefully share a couple tidbits with you guys of our journey over the last 4.5 years, and some just general fun topics. I'm happy to be on the post. And like we were talking about earlier, I'm so excited to be on the hottest webcast since the Joe Rogan Experience. You didn't want me to say it, but I had to say it because it's true. So again, thanks, brother. Glad to be on one of the first few episodes, and we'll look back at them in 10 years.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. I mean, it's funny how we talk about like from when you and I were just acquaintances a mere, call it 5.5 years ago, right? Like we were connected through mutual friends. My buddy Ryan DeHoyles, which is now, one I consider a really good friend, and I think you consider the same thing too. And I was back when I was in oil and gas, and I just knew Chris because he would hang out with us. We'd go to Top Golf or do whatever else. And then I, went through a pretty big career change. Both kind of self-inflicted and kind of forced upon me, which is fine because I was already thinking about a career change. I just didn't know where to go. And I kind of knew what Chris did. I was like, hey, you're like in a mortgage game, right? Like, what do you do? And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I do. And so I had some experiences with, flipping homes and taking out mortgages myself because I bought my first house when I was like 25. So I had a little bit of experience. And so I sat down with Chris, and he kind of took a big risk, a big risk position in me, and
yeah, I did. Whew, biggest risk of my life.
And so we sat down at the Starbucks in San Felipe and Westheimer, right? Wait, was it San Felipe or Westheimer and Sage or whatever that cross street is in the
yeah.
And we sat down, we talked, and he told me, he goes, it's 100% commission game, Ralph, and if you're up for that kind of risk on your end, like, hey, you seem to know what you kind of are doing. I'll take you. Go get your license. And then that was like November 2015. So I went and got my test done, and then a couple months later, boom, I'm on board with Chris. And I think anybody who's going through a career change, just like as you kind of gone through like a mini transition of a career change, going from origination to now being more of a leader, if you will, managing 2 branches now, opening up 2 branches over the course of 5 years. I mean, even that takes a little bit of kind of risk on your end, to where you have to kind of go into that unknown charted territory.
Just got to jump out that nest. Like in fact, I want to pivot or back to your last story when you made the decision to move from oil and gas, for anyone that doesn't know that, a trader in the oil and gas world, over to the mortgage game, as you said. So I remember, like you said, sitting down at Starbucks talking about it, and then you were like, but I'm going to go to Spain for 60 days and really ponder life. And you do. You go to Spain, you're out there on your own, and you're hanging out in CrossFit boxes and making friends. And it seemed to me to be an obvious fit for what we do on our side of it, because it's relationship building. So you're out there with strangers that you don't know in a foreign country. And are documenting it, by the way, which is cool how it's led to this. Now you've made a really nice presence online. It's all kind of tied together real nicely. But I remember you coming back and you're like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this. So you go get licensed, like you said. But Austin at that time, if you remember, was running like 90 days behind. So you're like, but I just can't sit here doing nothing. Do you mind if I go out there and just tell people that while I don't work anywhere, that I'm going to be a loan officer and I'm excited about the mortgage industry? So you can do whatever you want as long as you say it that way. So I know you recall, but I deemed you the man without fear, because you had no fear. You're just out there wide-eyed, just full of excitement, going for it. And I think that's what's the magic sauce in our industry, if there is any, is to not lose that exuberance, to stay excited about it, be genuine about it. And you've always been that. So proud of you, bro. One cheer.
Well, thanks, man. No, I
good journey.
And even, when I went to that career transition, I was, I was 35 years old, right? And a lot of people think by 35, you should be settled in your ways, or you're on a certain career path. And when that gets kind of taken out from under you, or even if you do it, like I said, like self-inflicted, you have to have it's a different mentality altogether. And with that said, you have to be kind of a man without fear in a weird way.
Absolutely.
And I recommend it to anybody just traveling somewhere else. I mean, granted, I was very fortunate to have the means to do so, but I was in Spain for 45 days. I wish it was 60. I regret not 60 days.
My bad. I like to embellish stories as you do.
Embellish the Chris plus 10% embellish.
Exactly.
No, I'm kidding. But just little things like that, and taking that risk, that opened my eyes to so many other things. And then when I came back to the States, I was like, all right, I'm ready to change my life, change my career. And, dude, I've been in this game for going on 5 years now. And I attribute a big portion of that to whatever success you may deem it to be, to you. I mean, you've kind of been that mentor and that coach and that yes man. Like everyone needs or I shouldn't even say yes man, that hype man in your corner.
So you know a lot. I was about to say that.
And it's just I would run an idea by Chris. He was like, yeah, it checks out, man. What's stopping you? Go do it. And that type of leadership, or that just kind of mentorship, kind of set the ball in motion. I mean, for the first year, I was calling you almost every day, just kind of making sure that I was doing everything right. I still almost call you every day now, not as much though. But the reason why I think I stuck with it, I think the reason why a lot of people don't stick with whatever they're doing, right? Whatever they're pursuing, whether it be a new hobby, it could be a game of golf, or it could be, a new workout routine, or in my case, a career. You kind of need that wisdom, if you will, of a senior person, who's someone like you, who's been in the business.
Call me senior. You see all these grays, isn't
that cool? But it's because of the 20 years. I mean, you started at a young age, and having that support system is key. And that's why, when I started doing, it's funny how you brought the videos that I did back in Spain. That was the starting point. This was 2015.
Right.
And where I didn't know crap. I was just doing anything, just filming my journey. And not that I'm doing a lot, I'm just doing more now than I was 5 years ago. And it's funny how it's kind of just slowly transitioned and morphed into, okay, let me start doing my Mortgage Monday videos. And you're like, do it. Awesome. Do it more, all right, I'm going to start doing these restaurant reviews. Do it. You just always been whatever it is that makes you happy, that's going to help you in your own mind, go do it.
Right.
And even this, I mean, I talked to this about this to you,
2 days ago, whatever. Yeah.
No, but it's the concept of doing
gotcha. Yeah.
Well over 6 months ago. And it's okay, if it's in my head for more than 6 months, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a go. And you were like, do it.
Yeah, well, I love that. As you know, Coach Bill Hart, and speaking of coaches, he has that catchphrase: if you're going to be in, be all in. And I think, like you just nailed it, in our industry in particular, you've got multiple options to go after business, right? But you got to pick your lane, and whatever lane that is, you've got to go full bore. Right. And you and I talked about that a lot. We knew you doing the videos, especially way back in the day. I mean, the editing of the videos was like a whole day in and of itself, much less the actual shot, right? So you were spending hours and days putting together a 2-minute video, right? So that we knew was going to take you off point if it was just pure go out and meet realtors and referral partners and build business that way. But you had an idea and a vision. You wanted to build a presence online that people could recognize. And we started to see that too. Remember back in the day when we used to go network with real people, not just these things? And we'd have people stare at you like, I know you, man. Where do we know you from? And it was cool when it would tie back to one of the videos. So we
Yeah.
started to see the momentum build. And it's not a short-term process. It is a long-term endeavor.
Right.
And it is staying the course, which is exactly what you've done. And it's pretty much proven itself out now over time, and it continues to do so, and you still love it. That's the other part that's really cool.
Right. But that doesn't just pertain to just mortgages, or it's anything you do. And that's the message I think you do really well of doing, is that you project, hey, look, have your processes in place. If you're going to do something, do it. You know what I mean? As far as like you, for example, you're a great, like, I don't even consider you a boss, man. I really don't. And I've told you this hundreds of times. Even though you are my boss, I still kind of have to report to you. But you're like, hey, man, like you're in charge of your own book of business. So like, I can't babysit you. So you need to go out and do this. Now I'll be here to support you as far as, I've had several bosses, right, in my career, both corporate America, mainly corporate America. That's where all my work experience comes from. And I've never had a superior, right, above me have as much dedication to my success as you have. And I think that goes back to what I just said about 5 minutes ago, as far as like, I would have quit this business 4 years ago, if I didn't have a strong support system. I think it's very true in anything you do, whether it's, makeup, like if you're going to cosmetology, you need that senior person to kind of bounce ideas off of. But every week, man, you are giving the whole team, every loan officer underneath you, tips and tricks, and reminding us to stay on top of our processes, because it's about repetition. It's about repetition, getting it done. And then, it seems meaningless.
It's very repetitive, by the way. But
and you just say, I hate sounding like a broken record, but you are very consistent with that, just like I am very consistent in the things I do. So it's like, how do you manage that? How many loan officers you got under you now? 6? I've
got 7 licensed people, well, including Garrett. Actually, just got his license. Technically 8, and obviously we have some hybrids in there that do both the support operation side as well as being licensed. So total, we've got 13 employees that each person needs a different motivation key tool, and I literally love trying to figure out what that metric is. So as far as saying, like you said, the loan officers, the originators under us, not everyone lends the same way. Not every, that phrase I used at one time, everyone's selling to someone. So I need to sell to my team, a message of support and a message of optimism, and especially in these times, positivity, which is very difficult for me, obviously, to be positive, but I've been working really hard to be a positive person. But either way, I try to share that message with the team, and then again, like you said, rinse, wash, repeat, and then find those commonalities. And sometimes I might be wrong. My initial gut feeling is this would work for so-and-so, but then we evaluate, right? And then we come back to it and make sure we're on the correct path for that person. Because my mom's been in schooling forever, and you've heard me say the same one too. I really can't stand the way schools have kept schools the same for 60, 70 years, because you teach a class of 30 people the same exact thing. There's maybe 10 people out of those 30 that learned that one way. Right. There's 20 others that got lost in the shuffle because we didn't figure out how they needed to learn. So that's if there's a passion in my philosophy, it's that I want to know what someone's hot button is, and I want to know what's going to motivate them. And I try to figure it out intentionally, and then once we do find that out, really stay on point. That's where I find the reward.
Yeah, I mean, one of the messages you preach the messages you preach, in my opinion, are by your actions. Like every day, especially on Mondays, I mean, I can expect an email from you at 6:30 in the morning, kind of outlining what we need to look out for in the week ahead, what your schedule is going to look like. You're very good about that. And I think whoever's watching right now, it's like, it doesn't just like, we're not just talking about real estate here. This is anything you do, whether you're corporate America, like you just said, everyone's selling to somebody, right? And I think I said that too in passing. It's the people, like, I don't care who you are. I think sales kind of gets a negative connotation. Right. It's like, you're just trying to sell me something. But I don't care if you're an accountant. I don't care if you're an engineer. Like, you still have to sell to your boss that you're capable of handling that job that they're giving you to do, that project that they're giving you to do. So it's like, well, what are you doing on the steps to make yourself look better for your boss, kind of thing, or your career? And so whatever you preach not only by your actions, but you preach by telling you hey guys, you have all the tools in the world. If you're not using them, then your success is not then you don't expect to be your numbers to keep on going up if you're not doing what needs to be done on a daily basis.
Or like I call it the beautiful basic, right? There's some very basic fundamental things that are fundamental. And you got to do those really, really well. And when you do those really, really well on a consistent basis, or like we were talking about earlier, have a theme day. Patrick, obviously in our office, is really, really key on that. Every Monday, he knows for sure what's going to happen Monday, for sure what Tuesday will entail, and it's repeated every single week. Tori now lives and dies by the book, win by noon. So he knows every single day, I'm going to crush the day before noon, which allows my afternoon to be open. Or you journal everything, you keep it very meticulous, and you reflect back to it. So what were wins and what were losses, and then we get rid of many of the losses we can. We track it, right? And each of you are doing different things, but it's a very similar approach that you're trying to become better. Simple as that.
And it's tweaking it along the way. I mean, I'm sure even as you as a branch owner, if you will, right? Because you started with one little branch of 3 guys, right? And then you slowly grew it, and you added some people, lost some people, but then adding that next leap to start a whole nother branch. So now you're managing 2 different branches, all these different personalities. Obviously, you have different performers, right? You have the guys doing crazy numbers, and you have people just starting out, like one of our colleagues, Garrett, and you have to kind of manage how everyone, like you mentioned just a bit ago, how everyone learns. And I think that and I was very closed-minded, in my opinion. If I reflect back to how I used to be back when I was, I had
way back when.
I had my role in corporate America, and I'm like, this is how I do. This is how things work. I was never open to learning something slightly different. I mean, I was, but not as much as I am now. Now I'm like a sponge. Like whatever I can learn, I don't even care if it's real estate related. There's something I can take from somebody else and apply it to what I'm doing to tweak it. Like Tor, like you said, he does the whole win by noon thing. Well, as my numbers are growing, as I'm trying to grow my numbers, as you know, I have a very hefty goal this year for my production numbers, which I'm on pace to hit. So hopefully I can manage it, despite all the COVID stuff.
You got this. You got this.
I'm even trying to tweak what I'm doing now. I'm like, okay, well, Tori's doing this win by noon thing. Okay, well, let me look into that. Maybe whatever I'm doing, maybe I can tweak it just enough so I can get all my major items done, whatever those items may be, by noon. So that I can leave the rest of the day to do my videos or do my editing or go out and scout, potential new leads or just new relationships. And I think that's key. I think it's really key. You have to be open to kind of tweaking along the way. And with that said, so like amongst all this growth for you personally, like what are some of the mistakes that you kind of made? You're like, made a mistake on that, or I over leveraged, or like what advice can you give to people of the things that maybe someone should have told you or would have told you, kind of thing,
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, learning moments, and some of those surprise you in a good way. I think the main one is don't forget what got you where you are, right? Sometimes if you got a level of success or you have a track record with some people, so we'll use the expansion to the second branch as a good example. You know how hands-on I am, right? Like, especially when we were used to be allowed to be together with people. And I really liked popping into offices and having genuine conversations with everyone, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, however long y'all allow me to gab and then kick me out, right? And either way, those kind of things were really, really important to me and are important to me. So when we added the second office, now all of a sudden we had a dislocation, right? We weren't all within one office on West Alabama. Now we had multiple offices, and some people that were in the original office were like, well, I like working at the new office because it's closer to where I live, and vice versa. So you had a little nomadic approach to it, and I started to get this weird guilt complex that I wasn't giving the same love to my original team, and then also needed to, honestly, in my opinion, earn the respect of the new team. While I knew some of those key components, I didn't know everyone that came over, and the ones that I did know, I hadn't worked with for years and years and years. So while, like you had said, quote unquote, I'm a El Jefe, we'll call it, that's not a given. You should get respect. You got to earn it, in my opinion. So I started dedicating XYZ time to the new group, and I knew I wasn't putting that time back into the original group. So trying to make up for it with just working longer hours and different disciplines. And I still felt guilty about it. So I remember so well calling Clint and calling Patrick and apologizing. And they're all like, what are you talking about, dude? You're like always available. You always call, you always text. I was like, oh man, well, ignore everything I just said. So I remember it really well. It's key moments sometimes. You can't get too down or too up one way or another. I think staying a steady Eddie is a place to be. You will have blow ups moments, especially now, right? We're all put in a different position. So we're calling it all learning on the fly, how to work in new environments, new areas, work from home versus work at work. Some of us, like yourself, are now getting to be a stay-at-home teacher while having to do loans, while having to do everything else. And I think that's what it is we're all in it. Everyone's doing the same thing. We're all having to figure out new stuff we haven't. So remember, you do have a team. You do have support people around you. Never forget that. And I like to think we transitioned from just workers to a true family, right? Where every single person knows they can reach out to everyone within the office and get genuine feedback and response. Or sometimes you just need to talk to someone and vent. Cool. I'm a great venting board. I love to hear those moments because they're just in the moment, right? And someone sometimes needs to let that go. And heck, sometimes I need to. Usually in Call of Duty when I'm taking out people.
I will say, man, I mean, and I attribute a lot of the growth that I've done to you, your guidance, and it's because of your positivity. I will say, I think you hear this a lot when other people are talking about other people, like, oh, it's one of the nicest guys I know, blah, 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 blah. But when I say that, like, I don't say that about anybody, but you're the only person I say that about. I mean, don't get me wrong, I talk good about everybody, but what I mean by that is when I mention your name within that same breadth of a sentence, I always say he is truly one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And I make an effort to say that because, dude, I truly believe that because your positivity, dude, and I'm not the only one that thinks this. There's other people on the team that think this. It's like, hey, does Chris ever have a bad day? He's always just even like your attitude is always here. It never dips, and if it dips, we can kind of tell. But even then, your dip is like.
Remember how Tori used to make the joke? He's like, if Chris sends back like a 3-word text message, something's really wrong. Like I can't help but type a paragraph and add every emoji, right? And so it's the only life I've ever lived, my friend.
And man, I'll tell you what, that in any role, right? Especially if you're working for yourself, especially if you're dependent on commission, where you need to do a service to earn your wage, so to speak. I mean, you always have to be on. You always have to be on because you don't want the person that's your client to know that you're having a bad day. They're like, oh, this guy's horrible to work with. He's having a bad day, right?
That's their first impression, right? That's so. Yeah, no, you're spot on. If that's their first impression of you, you've already lost it.
But you have definitely helped me, though, and I think you've helped a lot of other people too that you've come across as far as manage that and say, you know what, at the end of the day, yeah, this is one hard week out of 52 weeks a year out of the rest of your life, right? Like, get through it, power through it, make your adjustments and power through it. Because guess what? Tomorrow's another day, and guess what? Next week is a whole new week. It won't be as bad. It'll be worse. Who knows? Like, it's like don't get bogged down on like, oh, yourself if you lose a deal or if a buyer drops you at the very last minute because he shopped you and wants to save 30 cents a day or whatever the case may be. Like, you just always had a way to manage that feeling, if you will, and that in my opinion, any profession speaks volumes. So thank you for always having a good positive.
For sure. And then I know how you just mentioned life in months. Remember I did that one where I did the little breakdown of the let's say everyone lives for 80 years, so 960 months. And while this has been difficult, it's been really difficult. We're looking at 2 or 3 months out of 960 months. So as a totality, it's a good life. And I always try to focus on the positive, as you know. So with that in mind, that was the other one when I sent the meme out the other day, or had Snoopy and Charlie Brown, and Charlie's like, Snoopy, we only what does it say? We live one life. And then Snoopy goes, no, we die once. We get to live every day. So, or something like that. I totally messed that one up.
Actually, I think you hit it pretty close to that.
Every single day we get a chance to repeat and start over and hit the reset button. And I like to really try to live that way. I like to forget what happened yesterday and focus on the future, or as you know, my Lion King mortgage analogy, Hakuna Matata, right? It's in the past, right? So good. Well, I'm glad I could share a couple of those little nuggets with you.
Sure, man. So tell me, with all this COVID stuff, I mean, how's that changed your daily schedule? I mean, it seems like we're all working more than we ever have. I feel like even during this pandemic we're dealing, because obviously we're very blessed to be in a role that, rates are low, people are trying to save money, and we're able to help them save money. I mean, how has your day changed as far as like managing the team remotely? I mean, you're still making somewhat cameo appearances here and there, but like for the most part, you're
Or like we all are. There's very
yeah,
little you can do, right? And there's obviously different levels of it. I mean, I've still, to your point, tried to get out and pop in from little tiny events, but you get 4 or 6 people together when we used to get 40 to 60 people together. It's just different feel, right?
right,
As far as the day to day, it's like it's a weird dynamic. We actually have more time on our hands than ever.
right,
So, meaning we're not going to meetings, we're not driving to the woodlands and an hour there and an hour back. So all that time that seemed to not be wasted because we do phone calls and whatnot on the windshield time kind of thing. But now
right.
we wake up. I still wake up 5:30 in the morning, like always, no big deal. And all of a sudden, though, I don't have to get dressed and I don't have to shave, as we can see, and we don't have to, drive to one office or the other, or both offices for that matter, and then have lunches on top of title meetings, on top of maybe going to a closing in your case. And
Right.
so we have time to hopefully game plan, time to communicate a little bit more. Do videos like this, which, like you alluded to before, I used to do the email, which was like 4 novels tied together for you guys to get to read through when you had time. Now I've just converted it to a video,
Right.
which I think is just as good, but you can listen to versus read, or if I happen to do a good video and you wanted to watch it, stay to the end of it kind of thing. So it's just taking what all the tools were there and really, really implementing them. So what it's proven to me is that if you hire right and you have the right people and you have the right mentality, you can truly work from anywhere, disruption or not. And in fact, in our case, we can work better than ever, weirdly enough. So I don't know what the aftermath will be. Will everyone go back to an office? Will everyone stay working from home? Will it be hybrids of the two? All I know is we should all be proud of ourselves. And I mean everyone, from the frontline people working in the hospitals to, us staying open, working from home, and being teachers at home and looking out for each other, to our corporate people, to title companies, and all the people we interact with on a daily basis. It's been really gratifying to daily reach out to other people who are all going through the same thing and get the positive feedback from multiple industries. But yeah, it's again figuring out ways and tools that have always existed to keep those communication lines open. You know me, that's my big thing. Communicate. You never communicate too much.
Yeah.
And then actually probe a little deeper when you have that communication versus just, is this file good? Yes, it is. Go to the next one. Is that one good? Yes, it is.
Right.
Actually go a little more, which you do really well at, by the way, like in conversations, as you and I have always talked about. When you call me, you're going to always ask me 3 to 5 questions up front before we actually get to the point that you wanted to talk about, which if we do that daily with friends, family, then you build a deeper relationship, and that's really key.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought that up, because that kind of relates over to, I think, my trajectory in this business, right? Because you've been the first to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like, you're like, well, did you call him? I'm like, no, I didn't call him. Well, then there you go. You've always been very straightforward. And I think everybody needs that. Everybody in any role, whether you're an accountant, like I just said, accountant, engineer, I don't care who you are. I think having a good mentor, a good coach should be kind of like call you out on your shit a little bit. Like, hey man, so you didn't have such a great month. Well, why? Well, what were you doing differently? Oh, you didn't make your phone calls. Well, there you go. It goes back to you then. It always goes back to you. Like, yeah, it does go back to me. He's right. I hate when he's so right. I hate him for that, but he's so funny. That's what I needed. It's funny. So let me ask you this. So because you've been in a managing type of role throughout your career, where you opened up your own branch way back when you're a wee lad of 24 years old. How old are you?
So well, me and 2 other business partners, we had this atrium style office down in the NASA Road, Seabrook area. And we do this like Wolf of Wall Street style pitch in the middle of this lobby. And we put a ad in the Chronicle. And then so literally this is back in the day when you had to take a weekend class and you were licensed on Monday. So anyway, we get up there and tell everyone they can make hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'll build it up. And we hire like 40 people over the weekend. It was the worst thing we'd ever done. I mean, you're just buried deep in people that have no clue of what's going on, nor want to put in the effort to learn what's going on. So out of like 40 people, I'd say 3 or 4 were really cut out for the mortgage industry. And of course, you lose those 3 or 4 because you're spending so much time on other stuff. And so it was like, a lesson learned early in life, and it's one I didn't forget. But yeah, a wee lad of like 23, 24 getting it going.
I can't even imagine that, man. So let me ask you this. So because you've been around salespeople for a very long time, like what, quick, I know I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you got some other stuff going on, but like, what would you say is a common mistake that new salespeople or people in a new role kind of make when I guess starting off? Is it like, if you could say 2 things?
I know for sure what it is. You had the same issue, and right now, not to call you out, Garrett, because we're going to get you there, buddy, but it is always shotgun. Everyone who starts in any sales environment wants to shotgun everything, go after everything, and then you're getting nothing because you're going after, say, for example, in our world, you're going after builders, you're going after realtors, you're going after CPAs, you're going after financial planners, but you're not making any true traction with any one of them. You're just literally all over the world. And you create this self-imposed ADD situation. So narrowing the focus, literally narrowing it like a laser focus and picking one lane to, again, be the best at, be the master at, is so key to get that done and focused early. That creates momentum in that one environment, and then referrals come from there and growth comes from there. And then also not thinking you have to get it all done day one. Small victories. Challenge yourself to be better each day, grow it, because again, the worst thing you do as a brand new loan officer is get 10 deals on day one when you don't even know how to start the first one, and then you got 9 more to get behind. Before you know it, you're on 8 ball and you burn out. So I think slow and steady truly does win the race, especially when you're starting in a new career. Take the time to truly absorb stuff. Again, truly communicate, because I've seen everyone go through trainings that come out and go, well, what was that about? Like, knew nothing from it. And really, learn in the real world, but if you also take that present moment to be, again, present and soak up that knowledge, you do retain a good chunk of it. And then the rest, again, is learned live and on the fly. So yeah, focus, small victories, stay the course.
Yeah, small victories, stay the course. I could not agree more, because like you said, I was kind of in that same boat. I was like, okay, I need business from anybody and anywhere. I'm going to try to go after the builders and this and that, and then you end up spinning your wheels a lot. And then I think after, it took me probably about a year to kind of realize that, like, okay, you know what, like, if I have this much time, where is my time being divvied to? Like, okay, is 30% of my time going to this potential lead that I'm not getting anything out of? Yeah, it probably is. Okay, well, maybe I should reduce that 30% down to 10% and readjust everything. And that's been something that you've been very key about with me over the past couple of years. And I've always been a slow and steady guy. I've told you that. I'm like, I'm working at my own pace because I do other things. When I started doing acting, and you were like, go do it. Even when I was propositioned to
dealership, bro. The dealership. Prime, by the way, folks, if you want to go see Ralph.
Yeah, Amazon Prime, look it up. Dealership. But even recently, when I took that, when I was propositioned to go back into the oil and gas world and did commodity brokering for a couple months, you were like, Ralph, like, go do it. That's like, don't live in regret. Like, go do it. You have my full. You even said you have my full support, and I was like, oh, I'm letting you down, Chris. You're like, go test it out. If you can manage both careers, go do it. And that's that whole yes man. You've always been that yes man, that hype man, if you will. And I did it, and yeah, I was like, yeah, this is not for me. And mortgages was where my heart lies,
What's funny, if you recall on that note, I'm glad you brought this one up. I wouldn't have thought about it on this call. Remember I told you I thought it'd make you a better loan officer too?
Yeah.
Because I love you doing the videos and all the stuff, something had to go, and that's what went.
Yeah.
The videos, the editing, the outside stuff, you were focused, hyper focused on both of these income streams, and really, really well. So I think you did learn some skill sets of managing time, managing, as I call it, mortgage madness, right? All the chaos that comes with it. Yeah. And you kept those skill sets when when oil and gas kind of took care of itself, right? Like where it's at now, when you go negative $40 a barrel or whatnot, then that oil and gas game kind of changes on you no matter who you are. But you learned how to manage the chaos, because it always is chaos to some degree, and bring it back over. And as your own loan partner has said multiple times, as you well know, I don't know who this Ralph is, but we got to keep him. This guy. So I love that you learned those lessons. You thought about them intentionally. You kept them in place, and now you've been able to bring back what you really love on top of it. It's a cool moment to see it happen.
Yeah, it has been really good. Thank you for thank you for saying that, because it has been cool, and like the numbers kind of proof is in the pudding. You know, it's like every year my numbers have doubled. You know, and I have lofty goals this year. My numbers I don't think will double this year, but it'll get close. You know, having a lofty goal of 21 million, whew, that's a lot. It's a lot to get done, but it can be done, and I'm on pace. So, but it's because of like you said, that slow and steady burn, kind of tweaking as you go, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? And that's what just life is about in general. It's like, okay, I don't like where I'm at. What can I do to change where my current situation is? Well, first you got to change here, and then you got to make those changes physically and get them done, man. So I appreciate the kind words on that. So one last thing before we got to both get going. What's the first restaurant you're going to visit after this? After they release us into the Houston wild?
I thought it was either B&B Butchers or Steak 48. It was craving just a super high-end nice steak. Called both, and about 9 other restaurants, or 9 total, I think right now. Everyone's booked solid. Like, you can't get in, and nor do I know what the experience will be. So it's going to be really interesting. So maybe in a weird way, I was glad I couldn't get in somewhere this weekend,
right.
Or at least say restaurant style. Maybe we'll pop into somewhere else. But
right.
I don't know. And I'm very interested to see what the feedback is and how it all comes together, because I've been watching a lot of the different articles, even from, like, I saw the CEO of McDonald's, which, by the way, McDonald's will not be my first restaurant to go to. But they're like, even themselves, they're like, we're going to have to change how we do business, period. You know, a lot more curbside stuff. Do people want to come into the dining environment, period? So I don't know. It'd feel kind of weird too. Like, can you imagine walking into, say, Steak 48 once again, and it's 25% full, but that's full capacity, and every single person's wearing a mask, every single person's wearing gloves. I mean, I don't know how you eat for a mask, but I guess we'll be figuring it out. Pop it open, eat under, put it back down. A lot of things to think about, but I want to just basically, more than ever, support local. You know, I've always been a big fan of that. You are an advocate for that, and you obviously have made videos off of helping support local. So, whatever I can pop into, and in the majority, as I've still tried to do even during all this, whether it be just to get to-go food, as that's all you can do, is, again, support local more than ever, get behind it, and get back to life as much as normal. But that was, as you know.
I think everybody's kind of itching for that to get done, right? So how fast will it get back to normal? I mean, so you said not Nancy's Hustle. You said Steak 48, B&B Butchers is too good. So you called for reservation. They're like, we're at 25% capacity. No more. Is that what they said? Or?
In fact, Jennifer Arnold, if you happen to know Jennifer, she's a great realtor here in town. She posted the list of the definitive opened restaurants for as of this Friday through the weekend. There's a pretty good list, but it's very interesting, like shifted hours, shifted menus, shifted ways you get in there. I mean, I don't know for sure who's all doing what, but it could be you got to have your temperature checked. Every single person that walks in there. I heard in China, they're making you sign a waiver. You have to sign an actual waiver before you're allowed in the restaurant. Then still
in China, they're doing that?
Yeah. They brought that up on CNBC earlier. Interesting time. So a lot of unknown. I just can't wait to get back out and just smell someone else's oxygen. All right. Oxygen smelling really good.
Well, man, I appreciate all the time today and your insight, and most importantly, all the mentorship you've done for me over the years. For those of you that are maybe catching this on the back end, so this is Chris Sandahl. He is should I say branch owner, branch manager? What's the good word to use here?
Just a friend. Let's go with that. A good friend.
A friend of mine who actually manages me. My mentor the past 5 years or so. If you're looking for mentorship or some guidance, I mean, I'm not going to volunteer him, but you know where to find him. Just look him up on Facebook, look up his name.
In fact, you brushed upon something right there. That would be another thing I tell anyone, not just someone starting off. You know how I always say we're the hub, meaning we can't always say yes. That might be something we don't do well, we just don't do outright, but become a resource, become a hub, network. It's funny that that's our company name, Network Funding, as I always make the joke, network for fundings. But it doesn't matter what you do, create a good circle of trust, whatever arena you play in, find those people that will help you help your end client, which in this case is a referral partner that needs to find something. So go find it for them, and you will always be the person they reach out to.
Yeah, can't agree more, man. Well, Chris, thanks again for your time. I do appreciate it. I can't wait to have an old fashioned with you in person. And that was going to be probably one of my first spots. Eddie V's. Eddie V's, by the way, guys, had one of the best.
I like it.
Like, I'm not even a big drinker in that regard, but man, those old fashions, the smoked old fashions at Eddie V's. This guy here, it's backwards on the camera. This guy put me onto that, and now I'm hooked. So one of the first spots we're going to go to, Chris, Eddie V's. So.
Looking forward to it already, brother.
Dude, I appreciate your time once again, and we'll see you here probably pretty soon on our other little conference call.
20 minutes, another Zoom. See you soon, brother. Have a great
All
day.
right, buddy. Thanks again, man.